Father's Day is around the corner.
So we've compiled a list of ideas for how your church can show the dad some love.
Some of these cost a bit of money, some are free, some are a bit outside of the box, but all of them will help dads feel appreciated.
Let's dive in.
Well, hey there, and welcome to the Pro Church Tools Show. We're here to help you and your church navigate the biggest communication shift in 500 years. I'm Brady Shearer, your host. I'm joined as always by my co-host. We call him Minister Mogul. It's Alexander Mills.
Hello.
We've got 10 items here to make Father's Day unique at your church. We're going to kick it off right away with number one, which is not an idea, I promise. The remaining
10 ideas. The first, not one, but...
Well, it's an idea. The remaining 10 are things you can do.
Sure.
This is a guiding principle, and that is, please do not make dads a caricature. This is the number one thing that we want to avoid. Two dads on the show right now.
Yep.
Alexander, a dad to two boys. Myself, a dad to two girls. I want to avoid the most tired cliches about dads that we just assume are true for all.
Right.
I feel like that's a lazy approach. And I think what it can do is it can make dads kind of feel like a little bad about themselves. Not intentionally, but Mother's Day typically has a ton of care given to it. And then Father's Day, even on the calendar, it's like, well, we already did Mom's Day. Let's bring in Father's Day a little bit later. We end up just being like, whoa, bacon. I promise there will not be a single item of bacon on this list. It's also important to remember the posture that dads come with to Father's Day.
What do they want out of it?
Right. So believe it or not, we have some data. This comes from Statista in 2019. They asked dads, what's the thing that you want most on Father's Day? Number one response, nothing. 1 out of 5 dads, most popular response, nothing. 1% said flowers.
How many said bacon? None, but 6% said wine, beer, or liquor, which tracks.
Okay. Lord's Supper. Let's throw a bunch of things at the wall here with these lists and these ideas. My goal with you listening or watching is some things are not going to feel right for your church. Some things might. If you can take 1 or 2 things away from here and integrate those into your Father's Day service, that's outstanding. I also want to just point out that I tried ChatGPT for this, just as a thought exercise.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, useful in a lot of different contexts. I did that thing where I said give me 15 ideas for church Father's Day items. And my goodness, the most generic, unhelpful, tired, cliched options. So that's not what you're going to find on this list. Pastor Alex, anything before we jump into the actual list of real ideas?
Do you know the date of Father's Day this year?
June 16th?
June 15th, close. And I think that's kind of emblematic of the way that sometimes in church we approach Father's Day, which is what you said. We know that Mother's Day was May 13th. We probably went all out for it. And Father's Day is going to come around. We got to celebrate the dads as well. But these next 9 ideas are going to have a little bit more substance than, come to church early for bacon or stay late for steak.
Okay, first idea is having fathers recognize other fathers. A couple different ways that you could do this. You could have each person on staff or on leadership write 5 sentences about a memory they have of a dad in the church, someone that isn't typically spotlighted. So what I don't want to do is put the emphasis on the lead pastor and how he is a great dad.
Yeah.
What I want to do is have the lead pastor write 5 sentences about a dad in the church who perhaps the lead pastor or someone in leadership throughout their day-to-day of ministry and pastoral care came across something, a memory they saw at a church event where that dad did something that was worth praise.
I love that.
And then create a slide. It just 5 sentences on a slide, picture of that dad, and run it in the pre-service slides. Or as part of a special segment in church, you could go through 5 different ones. Now, we're going to get into a ton of different ideas here. And similar to Mother's Day, really anytime you spotlight a specific group, the danger is that those that are not spotlighted go, well, what about me? And it's just human nature. I think there's certainly a conversation to be had about people being overly sensitive at times, but I think there's absolutely merit to us being as considerate as we can. The reality is, no matter what you do, anytime you spotlight someone, the other person will say, what about me?
Yeah.
I know this as a dad. It does not matter what I give to one of my daughters or the other. It does not matter if it's fair or not. It does not matter if it was justified or not. if there's any difference whatsoever, the other will say, why do you hate me, Father?
Yeah.
So let's just be aware of that. If you hear an idea and you go, okay, but how will this make these people feel? Like, interrogate that a little bit. See if there's anything that you could do to perhaps mitigate any of those concerns. One of the reasons why I'm suggesting here that we highlight people that are not typically highlighted is not to put a double spotlight on the people that are almost always seen visibly in church, but instead to heap praise on people that are doing the silent work of the gospel and the silent work of Jesus and living that out in ways that are not typically seen.
Totally. I think one more creative element that you could introduce to this one specifically, recognizing a father, is actually having like a child in the congregation in the church do it as well. We talk so much about how storytelling is the most powerful form of human communication, and that's why this one's going to work so well, is because you're telling real moving stories about a real dad in your church. One more element just to crank that up one more notch is to have a kid tell the story. When kids get up on stage, and surely when they get the microphone, it's just like they can't help but have command everyone's attention. So having a kid recognize another father or even recognize their own father could be really special as well.
Agreed. Next idea, dad jokes in pre-service slides. Now,
isn't the pastor doing this every week already?
Okay, here's the thing. This is the one that I wrote down where I said, you're already ignoring the first rule you had. Like, no tired cliches.
Yeah.
And so this may not be for you. I think there's a way to delicately walk the line. If you're the type of church that has pre-service slides, giving, follow us on social, here's the event that we have coming up, register for summer camp. I think every second slide, inserting a dad joke, that's a fun way of just like sprinkling in a little bit of Father's Day magic without overdoing it.
It's so much better than like opening the sermon with telling, the preacher telling 3 dad jokes or something.
Precisely. I think if you're the type of church that has like an order of service or a bulletin, just sprinkling them in there a little bit.
Yeah.
So like when someone sees it, it's a little bit of like, oh right, today's Father's Day.
Yeah.
But it's not like let's ham it up. I don't want to ham it up. No ham.
You have a favorite dad joke?
No, I don't.
How about this classic? And your kid says, Dad, I'm hungry. You just respond with, Hi, hungry. I'm Dad.
Next idea. Ignore the previous idea. Create a reason for dads to spend time with their families after church. So I was thinking about all of the token gestures that we can make and how like long lasting are those gestures going to be, right? Like you could say like, hey, here's a treat on your way out, donuts or anything. Great gesture. But could we do something that creates a memory? And I was thinking about my memories at church, and they were almost always the things that happened after service.
Right.
And a big part of that is how human memory works, right? Like the rhythm and routine of church is not to be remembered because it is the routine and rhythm. There's great value in that. Doesn't mean because you don't remember it, it doesn't have value. But the things that I remember was like, oh, we went and we had a baseball game after church. And we did it every year. Okay, so maybe you do that on Father's Day.
Oh, cool. The Father's Day game.
Exactly. Yeah. And it becomes a yearly tradition. Or maybe it's, hey, we do food trucks.
Cool.
And so like everyone is congregating. We're spending time together.
It's all bacon.
Okay, look, if you're going to have a bunch of food trucks, one can be bacon related, okay? Yes, do I have a personal crusade against bacon? Yes, and I have for 10 years, okay? There are other foods.
That's true.
Something where you can create space where dad gets to spend time with his family outside of the normal routine, where perhaps a memory can be made. Host a barbecue, right? Like, and put some, hey, you know what? Don't put bacon on the grill. That would be weird. Not impossible, but if you're hosting a barbecue and you want to do pulled pork, if you want to do brisket, if you want to do, all the fixins, go for it. And now you have space after church for that. And if you're thinking about Father's Day this year, it's also okay to perhaps think about Father's Day next year and the years to come. You can do an individual gesture and perhaps you'll be back at this video next year all over again. Or you can think about starting a new tradition that you repeat year over year. And what better tradition than creating space to have memories made?
The tradition is key to this because these ceremonial holidays, whether it's Father's Day or even some of the stuff we do on the Christian calendar, Easter, Christmas, these things come around every year. And if you try to do something unique every year, that becomes awfully tiring, awfully quick. Because it's like, okay, last year what we did was really good, but like you feel this pressure to do something new, and it's like, well, can you do it as well as you did it last year? So to install for something like this that does come around every year, to install an annual rhythm does take a lot of the pressure off of planning that thing every year. So I really do love the idea of of either whether it's a post-service game, a ball game, or maybe bring in axe throwing. Axe throwing seems to be like a thing.
What are you doing?
But no, the barbecue is a great idea as well. But maybe going after an annual rhythm takes the pressure off while establishing, like you said, a memorable event that not only can you look back on fondly, but you can anticipate and look forward to. Oh, it's June, Father's Day is coming up. I can look forward to that annual barbecue we're doing, for example.
Yeah, and because it is an every year thing, people actually like look forward to it.
Yeah.
And if like the softball game once a year was only done once, like I'd have no ability to look forward to it the next year. So I think some people might think, oh, this is easier to pick a tradition and just stick with it. That must mean it's lesser. No, actually, it can actually be more valuable. Yeah. Any more millennial cliched dad things you want to put in there? Maybe we could do escape room, like church sanctuary edition.
Possibly. I was thinking of, of course, axe throwing, the game where it's like, how many swings of a hammer does it take to like hit this nail into the log? It's like dad behavior. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, a little lighthearted competition. Nothing wrong with that.
Do they rent wrestling rings?
Oh, interesting.
Because, we do inflatables for the church picnic. Do they rent inflatable wrestling rings? You could have a dad and child, dad and son, father and son wrestling matches after church.
Yeah,
How could you forget that?
Surely nothing bad can come from that. All right, next up, we have free coffee for all dads. So this is really only applicable if your church has a cafe, and you're doing this every single week. And typically people, let's say, are paying for coffee, or if coffee's always free and something's paid for, like the coffee's always free, but we have like baked goods that you can buy for like $1. So just say, hey, if you're a dad, go and get a baked good for free. That's a nice, easy gesture because you already have it going on. Is it going to change the world? No, just a nice little gesture. Totally. And if that's all you did, hey, at least you did something special.
Yeah, acknowledge them in the service somehow, but that's a nice little token as well.
Okay, this next idea I came up with 100% by myself.
You know what I love about this idea? Is that it's out of the proverbial toolbox. And it's when I read it, it was like, oh, I have never heard of anything like this before, and it's why it stood out. So I'm very excited to talk about this one.
Here's the idea. What do dads always have an issue with? Oh, right, we're out of this. We're out of this. We're out of this. And you're always just kind of like running errands, like, oh, let's get more of this. It happened today. Like I was, in the shower and we ran out of body wash. I was like, okay, gotta get that from Amazon. Like just the list of things. So you create what I call a supply bar of all typically masculine items.
Sure.
So for instance, batteries, light bulbs, some windshield washer fluid, tape of all types, duct,
so much tape.
Electrical, double-sided, packing, scotch.
Yeah, maybe.
Masking. Painters? That's all the tapes I can think of off the cuff. And you just say, hey, by the way, Mem, we have a supply bar on your way to church today. If you see something that you're like, oh, you know what? I think we're low on that. Just grab an item.
Yeah.
And you know what? As a dad, like that solves a pain point.
I would really need that.
One less errand. Oh, we are out of scotch tape. Oh, okay. I'm probably not remembering we're out of scotch tape.
Scotch tape is literally on my shopping list.
Okay, there you go. Yes. Right. Yeah. And you're leaving church. And now every single time you use that scotch tape, you're just like, I didn't have to run that errand.
Yes.
Sometimes the most important delights in the world are the smallest delights. And I think this is something you could do every year. It's so unique. It's so fun. And it won't cost a lot, right? Like it's going to be $100, $200, like, just for all these little items, depending on the size of your church. I'm thinking like an average size church. And again, big winner. Look, if I had to choose one item on this list, maybe it's this one.
If there's a church that listens to this show and chooses one of these ideas, and in particular chooses this one,
supply bar,
I need to see photo or video evidence. I need to see this in real life because I've never heard of this before. So I'd be surprised if any church has ever done this before. So if your church hears this, you're inspired by this and you do it, send it into the show, email us. I need to see this in real life.
Yeah, and it was really inspired by when I was thinking about other church traditions. Like there are sometimes those like gift trees around Christmas. You have a tree, and like there are things, and you buy a thing that you pick off from the tree.
Grab it off the tree.
Right. This is kind of like a permutation of that idea.
I love it.
Next up, we have favorite memories from people on stage. So for each person that gets on stage on Father's Day Sunday morning, worship leader, person that does announcements, person that does giving, if that's separate.
Anyone who grabs a mic.
Preacher, person delivering the prayer, anyone that grabs a mic, like Pastor Alex said. Have that person provide a brief favorite memory they have with their dad.
Love it.
Make sure that everyone sticks to like 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Yeah. Just sprinkle it throughout the service. What I like about this idea is that it will create natural, organic opportunities for people to share different types of dad experiences. my sense is with some of these ideas that we've come up with, where you, the person on leadership or the person in charge of the task, are going to spotlight certain people that probably have similar experiences because maybe those are experiences that you have. If you put 5 people on stage like you would on a normal Sunday morning, or 3 people, and they all share their dad experiences, you will probably get a greater variety. Some will be like, oh yeah, I was really close with my dad, and one of my favorite memories is this. But, oh, you know what? My dad and I didn't always have the greatest relationship, but I remember he did this one time that I'll never forget. So a person says, look, my dad wasn't present at all, but there was another person in my life. It was a father figure, it was a pastor, it was an uncle, it was a great-grandparent, whatever, or a grandparent, whatever it might be. And what that does is it makes more people in the congregation feel seen, because this is one of the sensitivities that's worth being aware of, is that the more you spotlight or highlight the same type of dad experiences, the more people that don't have that can feel left out. And so that's also worth doing. That doesn't mean you need to run the gamut of every single possible dad experience that you highlight, but creating an opportunity for that to happen organically, I think feels natural. If you try to like force it in, it can still work, and it's worth being aware of that. But ideally, a more natural way would be nice.
I love this. It's almost an iteration of the second idea, which is sharing a story about a father in the congregation. What I love about this play is that it's, and the second one is still valuable. It's a little bit more long form. It's highlighting one dad or one kid's experience or whatever. But this one I like because it, like you said, it kind of highlights multiple voices, multiple experiences, but also in the context of like order of worship in the service, it kind of sprinkles the Father's Day element throughout the service. And I think that there's value to that too. Maybe depending on how long your service is or how many people do touch the microphone, one of these two options could suit you better. But I do like the idea conceptually of this one kind of sprinkling it throughout the entire service in a few different ways.
Next idea, we're into our final 3 here. Number 8 is to integrate acknowledgements for dads in different seasons. I think as a dad, you are hyper aware of what it means to be a parent with the age your kids are at. And you either forget what the previous seasons were like, or you are completely ignorant to what those seasons will be because you haven't yet experienced them. And I think typically for Mother's Day and Father's Day, usually it's the time when the kids are like, 3 to 12 or 3 to 15, where it's like mostly celebrated. So I think having moments when possible, and again, you don't have to force it, you don't do every single thing, don't make it exhaustive, but like new dads with babies, dads of young kids, dads of teenagers, dads of adult kids, granddads, a bunch of different experiences. And if you have to choose one, just highlight granddads and highlight what it's like to be that in a different way, because that provides perspective into seasons of fatherhood that people either are unaware of or have like largely forgotten. And I think for those that are unaware of it, because they haven't experienced it yet, it's like, oh wow, what a rich and rewarding season that will be that I'm eventually going to arrive at. For those that have like forgotten it, not because they've tried to forget it, but because it's like in the rear view for them, it's like, oh right, man, oh, that's what it was like when we had young kids. What inspired this was those TikToks that keep being served to me that are like, one day, the diapers will be all thrown out and the windows won't have any smudges and you'll be alone. And won't you be wishing it was like it was now, you ingrateful lunatic. And I was like, all right, there are different seasons. Okay, every season is challenging and rewarding in its own way, and I shouldn't lament this season for what it is or wish it away for what it isn't. And so I think perhaps integrating that in some way, this can be basically intersected with any of the previous ideas.
And there's a pastoral sense to this one, I think, which is if you look at your congregation or you kind of evaluate your community, and maybe you're a very young slanted community. Your community is full of fathers with young kids. That story, that experience is very centered in your community. Maybe you intentionally highlight the grandfathers because that's a type of fatherhood. And there are people in the congregation who, albeit maybe a small portion, but are grandfathers. And so maybe like try and balance the scales a little bit as far as like the storytelling goes in your church. So like, yeah, we have a lot of young fathers, which is great. And we should celebrate that. But like there's merit to this story as well. And the same could be true in the inverse. If you're an aging congregation, but there are just a couple of young families and there are some young dads, you could choose to highlight those stories to say like, yeah, this is happening here. So that there's kind of a pastoral sense to balancing the scales of the storytelling in your community, depending on the complexion of your congregation.
Yeah, that's very profound for me because we've kind of implied that It's about showing everyone, maybe like equally, or giving everyone. But like if your church is always, and this is what is true for almost every church, very few churches are equally spread out across all demos. So think about the church that you have and how one group is probably more proportionately represented than others. And then how can you highlight the other group? I like that a lot. Okay, number 9, incorporate Father's Day elements, but don't design your entire service around it. Personal preference here, and we've hinted at this a little bit. I like the idea of a Father's Day service being like, hey, we do our normal thing. By the way, it's Father's Day, so we've got some elements sprinkled throughout. Rather than like, oh, it's time for a Father's Day sermon. And you know,
singing Good Father and doing some of the other things we're doing here. It's like all of a sudden we're worshiping dads a little bit. We're inching towards worshiping dads and like not keeping the main thing.
Well, here's how to keep the main thing. Pastor gets up and like, we've talked a lot about dads today. Can we talk about Daddy God? Right? Exactly. Like this is what I would like to avoid ideally. And perhaps this is just like my own kind of creative preference and like, hey, we don't need everything to be so on the nose. And surely some of the ideas I've suggested to you are like, okay, that's a little bit on the nose, don't you think? So everyone's kind of like how they prefer and what they like think is appropriate is going to be different. But I think it's worth just don't make your entire service about this. Don't make it like a gimmick Sunday.
Yeah.
Say, hey, we're doing the thing that we do. And surely you and your life are doing the thing that you do. You're here at church. You're going to probably run some errands. It's also Father's Day. So you might do a couple things for dad throughout the day. And we're going to take the same approach. Finally, number 10, dedicate a portion of giving that week to a father-specific organization.
So good.
We've talked a lot about your church and what you can do. We've talked a lot about the dads in your church and highlighting them. Certainly, there are needs in your community and abroad that are related specifically to dads. Maybe those organizations are ones that people aren't aware of. So take a moment and say, hey, by the way, our church in our budget, we always give some of what you give. And so for today's offering specifically, because it's Father's Day, whatever normal percentage that is, or a different percentage, we're giving that to this organization. Here's why we chose them. Here's what we like about them. And if you want to learn more about them or get involved, you can do that here. And so that way, your church is also making a difference, and we're not keeping ourselves fully insular and about what we're doing only.
Okay, one thing we haven't talked about. I'm gonna get you on your toes here.
Wild card.
What about social? How do we approach these types of the Mother's Day, Father's Day on social, whether it's promotion for what we're going to do or singular posts that exist into themselves? What should our approach on social be for a day like this?
So I don't think that you need to do promotion for Father's Day unless you're having specific bridge events on Father's Day that are community relevant. So when you're doing social media promotion, you want to use that promotion on an event that is as broadly accessible as possible, right? If it's only for a certain percentage of people, like your congregation only or a group in your congregation only, you can use a promotion on that, but it's likely not going to bring about the fruit that you want because it just doesn't apply to as enough people. So when you really want to go heavy on promotion is when you have summer camp that a lot of people outside of your church come to, Easter and or Christmas and or fall festival, these events that we call bridge events where irrespective of faith background, you are meeting a need in the community that every single person or the majority of people in the people group you're trying to reach would be like, yes, I'd like to attend that. This has value for me. So no promotion needed. What do we say always about social and in person? Congruency. So what are you doing in person out of these 10 ideas? How can we then translate that to online? So let's talk about some examples. If you do the pre-service slides of the stories, they're going to be in a horizontal aspect ratio. Just reportion them to be in a vertical aspect ratio. Instead of dad picture on the left and 5 sentences written about him on the right, put dad picture at the bottom, sentences on the top, and then you can put those out like after service. And so now those stories are being seen twice. That has value. And people see it for the first time because they weren't in service or they weren't paying attention during the pre-service slides, so they see it on social. More people see it that way. That's an easy one. If you're doing the dad jokes, those can be repurposed onto...
You could even get people to write them in the Thursday before. Say, hey, share your favorite dad joke in the comments. People writing good ones. And then you use those to inform the slides. So now the Father's Day content that you're putting on the big screen in church is actually motivated by the congregation and not just top down, but actually like happening bottom up from social.
Even better. And if some of the jokes have like ambiguous answers, typically dad jokes do not, but if some do, you could turn those into like the quiz post style where you have to choose it. So that would be a good way. Every one of these basically can be turned into social. For ones that like are not story-based or text-based, like let's say the supply bar, you could just do like photos of that.
Yeah, that's your portrait post.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think these are all pretty easy to translate to social, and good job on Pastor Social over here bringing it up, because I did neglect that in my
all good.
questions.
Daddy's Day coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you do anything special, your family?
No, I mean, Sunday's our family day anyways. So usually my mom will ask us explicitly for Father's Day what we want like the menu to be for dinner.
That's nice.
And we get to like call the shots on dessert. But my dad and myself, we're going to grill the meat anyways. Like
Wow.
it's not like mom's going
Put to
to take over
work.
the barbecue. But on Mother's Day, we cooked all the food. And
That's inequity, right? Let's talk about
It
it.
turned out all right. It was edible at the very least.
I don't believe in Father's Day or Mother's Day, personally. I grew up in a very holiday agnostic home. Birthdays were like, all right,
Yeah.
and Christmas for the Lord, Easter for the Lord. But like Canada Day, no, not acknowledged.
Did your family not
Mother's Day was never acknowledged, like, not
Really?
even a thing.
Wow.
Like my mom would be like, why would we have a day? Stupid.
respect. I mean, a little bit of pressure off
Anniversaries,
you.
barely acknowledged.
Wow.
Just wasn't a thing. So it has been a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Me getting used to, most families.
Yes.
The problem is I have every year I get my wife a sunshine gift. See, the problem is I like making my own holidays up,
yes.
right? You don't tell me what to celebrate. So we have a sunshine gift. My wife is a Canadian, but doesn't believe in being Canadian and
Right.
has a trouble with the winters. So every time she gets through April, it's like, hey, here's a little gift. I say, hey, you made it.
Yeah.
It's now warm and sunny.
Yeah.
So that's like May 1st.
Right.
And then Mother's Day,
2 weeks later, come on, Britt.
my anniversary, May 19th.
Oh,
Her birthday, June 11th.
Oh, you can't.
So like, come on, let's be here. So my usual thing that I do is I just leave. Because
Here's a break, babe.
we have typically I do 2 big international
Yeah.
trips a year for work. And we like to do them on shoulder seasons, so they happen during school.
Yeah.
And one of my travel partners is a pastor. And so he doesn't like to miss 2 Sundays. And he likes to like use vacation days optimally as he should.
Yeah.
So usually we use the May long weekend, which is always around May 19th.
Yeah.
So
I'm out of here.
yeah. But I'll be here for Father's Day, so let's celebrate me. And we celebrate all of you for joining us. Thanks for your time, attention, and trust. We'll be back next week. So we'll talk to you then. Let's see. What did I do? Okay, sunshine gift this year was, a pair of Birkenstocks that she wanted. And then Mother's Day gift was this, like, she wanted this like special like decorative spoon. And then I have an actual idea for birthday, which is probably her most important.